We are the Org. Our mission is to assimilate Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, and beer. Lots of beer.
Hello!
Hello, friend!
Welcome to bOrgCast 12.11, apparently.
Yes, with Peter and Anne-Marie. And we have news of Destination Star Trek.
Yay! We rented and had fun.
We did have great fun. It was better than the 2016.
Yes.
There were a lot more things to see and do just for your entrance ticket.
Yeah.
2 years ago, you had to really have invested in some of, paying to see some of the panels and stuff in order to really enjoy yourself. Whereas this time around, there was far more to do just for the entrance tickets.
Yeah, they had a really cool Discovery exhibition.
Aha, yeah, fantastic. Rather than the mouldy old Next Generation uniforms of previous years, we actually had new uniforms to look at. And then you realise up close, they don't look that good, do they?
Yeah, but they're not going to get your hero props, your best ones, and put them on display. They're going to be getting the ones that they don't need anymore.
I guess.
But they still looked awesome editions, particularly Emperor Giorgio's.
That did look fantastic, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it was only when you were there and you saw how the size of it, even with her boots, that you got to see.
She got these huge platforms to make her look taller.
She must be quite short then, wasn't she?
Is.
But she bloody well kicked ass though.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So that was really cool. Mm-hmm. And they had lots of shiny attack wing things which we spent our money on.
Splurged money on, yes, splendid. But I mean, that was what we were calling out for last time. It was like, why was there no attack wing? Well, this time there was attack wing, and you could actually play games and stuff. Look at the new games they've brought out. There are also computer games, if that's your bag. There's an opportunity to play those. There was an opportunity to watch episodes of Star Trek. The problem is it's in this big, massive hall, which is part of the NEC complex in Birmingham. And it's quite noisy. Sometimes it's quite hard to hear in some of the talks. To hear an episode of Next Generation through a very small speaker was nigh on impossible. But as it happened, we were watching an episode of The Nth Degree that we knew quite well, so we'd lip read and remember the dialogue perfectly well. So it was a nice experience.
But Martin, who watched with us, who hadn't seen the episode before, came out just bemused.
Yeah, we had to explain it all to him.
Yeah. But that was really cool. And then we attended one paid-for talk, which was about the 25th anniversary of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, there was an awful lot going on about the Deep Space Nine 25, which is appropriate and excellent, and it was good. But even at the one we went to, Iris Theory and Bear was saying, oh yeah, we were the unloved group, and it's like, I think you're getting plenty of attention now, sir. I think lots of people have realised that you're, if not the best, one of the best Star Trek series. And the question actually came, how much do you think Discovery has been shaped by Deep Space Nine? I mean, and he was honest enough to admit he hadn't been watching it, which is interesting. But one of the other guys who's been involved in putting the documentary together said, oh, actually, there's quite a bit of Deep Space Nine in Discovery. So.
Section 31 he named specifically.
Yeah, exactly. But just the format as well. I mean, Deep Space Nine was ahead of its time, as was Babylon 5, in having that arc plot.
Yeah.
No, very little else on TV did. It was really only when BSG popularised it in a big way that then every show did it that way.
Yeah. But one of the other things that they talked about was, did he want to plan things, that Iris and Bear want to plan things that way? And he said, actually, no, he liked the fact that he could be surprised.
And have some freedom. Yeah.
And have some freedom. And he said that although, yes, when they cast Casey Biggs as Damar, he did envisage more of a role for him, but even then, not as much as we're watching in, like, for example, in the episodes tonight, that was born out of Ira being blown away by Casey Biggs' performance and going, we can do things with this actor.
Yeah. And likewise, J.G. Hertzler, they weren't sold on the idea of including Klingons from season 4 onwards. They really didn't want to do it. But then J.G. Hertzler blew them away as Martok. And the reason he got cast, we found out, is because apparently he was on some, video thing at Las Vegas, in this one particular place in Las Vegas that Bear had been to, playing a pirate with an eye patch.
Yeah.
You could just imagine how that worked for J.G. Hertzler. And as a result, when he came to audition, he's like, you were the pirate from that film I saw. You're the man.
And J.G. Hertzler was like, what? Really? Anybody saw that thing? But actually, it was really funny that one of the guys then turned around to Ira and went, so he was a pirate. Does that mean he was wearing an eye patch?
Yeah.
And I don't think it had occurred to Ira before.
No.
He went, he was. Which was, that was...
And then at the end of the panel, really sweetly, Alexander Siddig emerged from behind the curtains.
Yeah.
He said, there's just one more question. And, Sid turned up and gave Ira Bear a big hug.
It was lovely. They had the world premiere of What You Leave Behind, which we didn't go to because the tickets were very expensive, but apparently we're in it.
Yes, we did submit some video footage as they asked us to, and apparently we appear several times, so we're rather looking forward to that arriving now. More of that as and when.
We might cover it as a special as a result.
Yeah. Our thanks to Duncan Barrett for informing us about that from
we didn't
Trek
know.
FM. Yeah, he was around for it, and I woke up in the morning to a message from him saying, "Ooh, we saw a lot of you in the film last night." I was like, "Ooh, cool, thank you." We also went to one of the free talks, but it was the one I really wanted to see, and bless her, Amory let me drag her along to it because she really wanted to go and see the Discovery ones, but it clashed with what I felt was far more important, which was a talk about spaceships by John Eaves, one of the designers. He started work on Star Trek in Star Trek V, so that clearly means he's impressive. Oh. He designed the wee bird of prey cannon, laser cannon thing.
That was cool, though, seeing that as a graphic up there. He also, one of the things I do like is he designed the Vulcan lander from Star Trek First Contact and the Phoenix as well. Mm-hmm. And I like the designs that you see, the aesthetic of First Contact, and so it was good to see that on screen. And he has some stories and a half.
Didn't he? Yes. He was also involved in Discovery. Although, interestingly, apparently his designs were more sort of original series looking, and then the people who actually produced the CG effects, because he just draws with paper and pencil, he's really old school, and then somebody else then turns that into a CG model. Well, when in the process of doing that, they basically made him look a bit more whiz-bang and arguably slightly more modern than they should, but that's a whole discussion for another time. But he's colourblind.
Hence, he only works on grey things.
Yes. He's not responsible for the Klingon ships, clearly, because they're in all sorts of colours.
Yeah.
And he's designed a ship for the Star Trek Deep Space Nine documentary as well, the Emmett Till, which I quite like. For a 4-warp engine spaceship, it was actually quite impressive. So, yeah.
Didn't he design something he hated?
Yes, that's right. There was one that you only briefly see before it's destroyed. Was it one of the ones from First Contact?
No, I think it was one of the ones from Discovery back in the Binary Stars.
That's right, yes. And he really didn't like it, and he was really pleased that they didn't use much of it.
Yeah, they just blew it up, basically.
Yeah. So that was a really good talk as well. And of course, moving on from news about Destination Star Trek, of course, since we last podcasted, there's been news of yet another new Trek series, because John Eaves, he's dropped a subtle hint that he's still involved with Trek, so either that was a reference to Season 2 of Discovery, or it was a reference, of course, to the Picard series.
Or the new animated series.
Which has just been announced by the guy behind the admittedly very amusing Season 8 Next Generation Twitter account. I just kind of feel like it's clearly the CBS channel is like, okay, Trek sells, we've got to sell our brand new channel, so all the Trek. And I do worry that it's just going to be far too much overkill. You know, like at one point with Who, we had Doctor Who, and we had Torchwood, which I was never sold by, and we had the Sarah Jane Adventures,
and
which
Doctor
had its
Who
appeal.
Confidential.
And Doctor Who Confidential. It was like, you're doing way too much. This is overkill.
Well, I mean, at one point, didn't we have... I suppose we might not have had Next Gen and DS9 and Voyager all at the same time.
No. Generally, there are 2 seasons on the go at any time, plus possibly a movie. And that felt too much at times. And
so I'm wondering whether we should take a different approach to this and think more in terms of the way telly and everything works in the new generation, because people tend to binge watch. So there'll be people who won't necessarily watch, say, for example, the animated series when it airs. But when Discovery has stopped airing, they will then binge watch that as a box set. Mm-hmm. So although they might all be appearing on the airwaves at the same time, they don't necessarily have to be in competition with each other. You have your favourite one that you watch as it airs, and then the others you might binge watch.
I mean, obviously, as an animated series and a jokey series at that, it's not really going to sap any of the creative involvement from people who are involved in Discovery or the Picard series, I shouldn't think. And I don't know how. Obviously, it's not going to be a one-man band, but ultimately it's a very different beastie, and it might be good. I'm going to give it a chance, but we shall see. But we've said this before, but At one point, we thought the bOrgCast was going to end at the end of this year. More and more, it looks like a job for life, doesn't it?
It does a bit. But I'm not complaining. I just, because also as well, let's suppose we watch one of these new series and we don't really like it, but there's other people who do. Then the Star Trek values and the stories that Star Trek can tell are going to reach people that otherwise they wouldn't reach. Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good thing that there's different types of Trek out there for different people and arguably different generations, depending on who the animated series is going to be aimed at. It might be aimed at deliberately a younger audience, we don't know yet. I don't feel... I guess there is a mindset, isn't there, that you have to like everything if you're a true fan, in capital letters, and you're not allowed to not like... it's like that meme, wasn't it? If you don't like me at my worst, you can't like me at my best. No, that's bollocks. I have discerning taste. I can like what I like and not like what I don't like, and no fucker can tell me otherwise. So it's fine if we don't like some of the Trek. It doesn't mean that what we do like is wrong, and equally, other people can like different forms of Trek. Let's have lots of different Treks out there to suit different tastes.
That's a thought.
And if we don't like it, we won't watch it. We'll try them all, but we're not going to be... That's why we don't do Voyager. We're not going to be doing a podcast on Trek we don't like. We'll leave that for someone who does like it to put a podcast out there.
Cool. Right, we have a little bit...
Last time on Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
From Ol, who asks, why haven't Bashir and O'Brien painted their minis? Naughty bad gamers. Yes, their Alamo diorama. Yes, the models were all very sort of monochrome, but I suspect they were a bit pressed for time, and not O'Brien and Bashir, but rather the series makers.
Yes, yeah. Although you've still got a fuck ton of unpainted miniatures.
I do, yeah, that most people do. You're quite unusual in ensuring you always paint everything, but there we are.
Yes.
Moving on to tonight's episode, When It Rains.
I'm only happy when it rains.
I really don't like that song, so whiny, but never mind. The title comes... Well, this is really interesting, I think, anyway. Dates back to 1911. Okay, when it rains, it pours. It's a phrase in this country. And it was originally a positive advertising slogan. Yes, from Morton's Salt.
What?
That their product flowed freely even in damp weather. So it was a good thing when it rains, when it pours originally.
I see. When it rains, it pours. Okay.
Yeah, the salt will pour. But
that's what you need to do. Everybody needs to take their salt out into the rain and pour it.
Look,
what
it's
the fuck?
pouring. Yes.
Oh, I suppose there was a tradition, wasn't there, amongst British people of sort of putting salt on fucking everything back then. So British picnics in the rain, you need your salt.
Salt, yeah.
I suppose. But it's a bit niche.
Slightly.
So, you start off in the boardroom, and it's kind of a way of doing a little bit of a recap from last time, with O'Brien basically doing a bit of exposition, but it does also move the plot on a bit, because what happens is basically what you're watching is the debrief. And you find out that the Breen energy weapon took out the Federations, took out the Romulans, took out all the Klingons, bar one ship, the Kang, I love it, where are its sister ships, the Kor and the Koloth. And it's because it was fiddling with something at the time, that's what they think it is. And it was to do with the intermix. So they're replicating this throughout the Klingon fleet. And it's going to make the Klingons immune to the Breen energy weapon. But there's not an equivalent technology used in either Romulan or Federation ships.
I mean, we do know the Romulan engines are very different.
Yeah.
So,
So what's going to happen is that the Klingons are going to have to hold the line, as it were, while the Federation and the Romulans try and work out what's going on. So the Klingons are going to have to keep the Dominion distracted. However, that isn't the only thing they've got going for them. They've also got the fact that the other thing that's going to keep the Dominion distracted is Damar and his Cardassian uprising.
Mm-hmm. And we meet General Velal. General isn't a very Romulan title, is it? But there was a General Movar in Redemption Part 1 and 2. So
I presume that's a universal translator.
Maybe, but normally they have different names. It's General for apparently doesn't translate, but there we are. He isn't named here, but he'll be named later on because he'll be coming back. Although he was mentioned by Kretak as being her replacement on Deep Space Nine while she was on that conference on Romulus. So makes sense that he's here.
Yeah. So the Klingons that you find out are going to be outnumbered 20-1. So all they can do is distract. They've got to be like a buzzing gnat kind of thing. They can't go on a massive offensive. And similarly, Damar's rebellion needs to change its tactics because Damar's leading like a traditional soldier, and they've got to take the same approach. They've got to be buzzing around like gnats. They've got to, little strikes and often and be a distraction. And the main person that they've got available who knows those tactics is Kira.
Yeah, makes sense.
But they could also do with Garak, which I love.
He's back! Hey!
Which is an awesome idea. And Kira's like, Damar shot Zial. Mm-hmm. And Cisco's like, yes, but we need Damar. You've got to put your personal feelings aside. Mm-hmm. And the way that Kira walks out of that room, she's like, I'm not going to argue with you. I see your point, but I'm fucking angry. So that's your teaser. So you're like, ooh, exciting. And then you have Bashir talking about, with Odo, about organ replacement. So apparently they carry around synthetic organs. Mm-hmm. But they don't know how many of any type of organ they're going to need. They kind of got to guess.
Yeah.
So what would be really good is if there was...
Got no spleens! Oh, well, let's have an extra liver.
What would be really good is they could somehow have something that could become the organ it needed to. Mm-hmm. And so because of that, he wants to study Odo, a sample of Odo, to look at his morphogenic properties, to try and understand what they might be able to do to create something that then could become what it needed to be.
So he takes some Odo juice, basically.
Then you're on Bajor, and you've got Wynn pretending to miss Sobol. And Dukat saying that, you're doing a really good job of this. And she's like, oh, we've got to kill all these people. I'm not happy with all this death. And Dukat's like, well, yeah, but we're going to have blood on both of our hands when we release the Par-Race from the fire caves. And she just looks at him and says, the Par-Race will save those they deem worthy, which I like.
Yeah, it's like, I couldn't give a monkeys about the ones who are, the Par-Race are going to kill, because the only ones I'm interested in are basically the ones who are going to worship me in the Par-Race.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. And then you have Admiral Ross and Cisco, Kira and Garak, and it's like, yeah, we've made contact with Damar, whatever, but the Cardassians are a proud people. They're not going to take orders from a Bajoran officer. Ross is like, we'll have to find another way, and Cisco's like, no, there's a different way around this, and they've given Kira a Starfleet commission.
Yay! And she looks so good in the uniform.
She does.
So much better.
Yeah. It's one of the things I remembered. I didn't remember why she went into the uniform, but I remembered that she did.
But it's a very striking image, isn't it? And as I say, it really does suit her.
It does.
Oh, well, never mind. I mean, that fact that the uniform she had anyway, nobody else had one like that.
Yeah, it was because she was the only one of that rank on the station.
Yeah.
But, I mean, see her in the uniform, but Odo makes a really good point, which is that not only does it look good on her and it solves the Cardassian pride problem, which is an understandable one, we know the Cardassians are proud, but also it means that she can speak with the authority of the Federation. Mm-hmm. So it's not just we need you to not be Bajoran. There's a positive aspect to her taking on the Starfleet Commission. And then you find that Gowron is coming onto the station.
Yes, Gowron returns for the first time since Season 5's By Inferno's Light.
And he's going to give Martok the Star of Kalis.
Gold star, well done.
Yeah. And he stands there and Worf's there, and he's looking at Martok and goes,
the son of Moog.
Chancellor?
They say you've made him part of your house.
That's true.
Then what is past is past.
If Martok considers you his brother, that's all I need to know. Come, I brought a barrel of the finest blood wine, and it must be drunk tonight!
The vintage 2309, I hope.
Yes!
Yeah, awesome!
And then you got poor old Cisco and Ross, and it's like, I guess we're not invited then. It's like, what's been?
Yeah. And then you've got Bashir had been talking to Mars about how he wanted to see more of Ezri, but she's avoiding him. And Mars is like, no, you just want to see her, and so there you noticing if she isn't there. So he's got her to come in on the pretense of something to do with medical results, which Brian's like, isn't that a bit unethical? And Bashir's like,
yeah, kind of.
It reminds me back in when he was being Dr. Franklin, Mr. Lover.
Yeah, slightly, yeah.
And anyway, Ezri's like, oh, now's as good a time as any. And she starts talking about her and Worf, which he misconstrues. But then they're interrupted by the computer going plinky plink. And the Plinky Plink says that Odo's got the changeling disease.
Yeah, and we get an "oh my god" from Julian. Here we go again.
Yeah. And then you have Descartes, and he goes to read the Necronomicon, and gets attacked and goes blind as a result.
Number of times we've referenced that, but I don't think we've ever played out to it. So.
Oh, I think we need to.
I think we need to.
It's an actual plot point.
It is.
Then you have the Order of Kalis, which is yet another Klingon ritual.
Yeah, involving cutting of hands, because that's all they ever do.
And the blood is not purple.
No.
No, shame on you. But I do like Admiral Ross and Cisco in this.
Yes.
It's like
a lovely pair, aren't they?
Yeah, it's us next. Oh, joy.
Yeah, and Ross is like, oh yeah, that's funny. Wait, you're serious, aren't you?
And then later he's like, it still stings.
Oh, my
Danny
hurts.
Yeah, got a boo-boo. Admiral Ross got a boo-boo.
Oh no. That was his pencil pushing hand as well.
I thought you were going to say something else then.
No, not lovely Admiral Ross. Poor old Bill.
So people you like don't wank?
Well, no, I just wouldn't talk about them wanking.
Okay.
Because he's not a wanker. It's the bottom line.
Okay, fair enough. But then basically what happens is that Gowron sacks Martok and takes over.
Aboo! He's back to his usual self.
Yeah.
This is all completely character for Gowron. It's a lovely idea to throw another plot element in. You know, it's like the Federation aren't up against it already, but now they've got bloody Gowron being a
twat.
Yes. With they're the Klingons are the only people that are holding the Breen back. But oh no, he's gonna own personal vendettas.
Yeah, because he can't cope with the Odo because Martok's popular.
Yep,
he's a threat.
And the whole business about Gowron sending Martok off to the front lines to get him killed. Were you thinking David and Bathsheba? Yeah. It's very Old
Uriah.
Testament.
Yeah.
Yes. I wonder if Gowron has designs on Cirella. Yeah, you don't be thinking about that, do you? Particularly not with the scary eyes.
Yeah, but she's got kind of scary eyes.
Yeah, I know, the pair of them, blimey.
So then Bashir's like, look, in order to find a cure, I need to look at Odo's files. And initially I'm like, surely you've got your own files. But you find out later that the Starfleet medical files are more detailed.
Yes.
Which makes sense. He actually
went,
station.
Exactly. He actually went to Starfleet Medical back in Homebound and Paradise Lost, and therefore they used all the equipment on him. So it makes sense that Bashir wants that data.
Yeah, but the files are classified. And he's like, why? And he's chasing people and getting cross, and he goes to the head person. But whilst I completely get where Bashir is coming from as a doctor and he's morally in the right, the Starfleet attitude is understandable.
Yeah.
Odo is a founder.
Why do we want to cure?
Why do we want to cure?
This is our
enemies?
one edge at the moment.
Yeah. So, I mean, Bashir is right.
Which is okay until then Bashir later discovers that actually Starfleet indirectly are responsible for this disease in the first place. Then it's far more sinister.
Yeah, but I get where they're coming from. It's like, no. But I also think, to be honest, that's short-sighted, at least from the point of view of the person behind the desk, if that makes sense, because we've got no sense that he's Section 31. Because surely if you can have someone on your side from the enemy, that's like having a defector. That gives you massive leverage, so you want that person to be well.
Yes. But the fact that you can see from their point of view, that they, at the time, they think that he's been infected as a result of merging with other founders. So therefore, understandably, and Kira was disturbed by. Well, we saw what happened in the season 6, the first few episodes, just how badly that warped Odo, and he didn't care about what happened to anybody for a while because of his association with the founders. So you
can understand
it's not unfounded, this suspicion of the fact that he's doing this.
I don't think it's morally right, but I do think it's completely understandable. Yeah. And then you've got Kira briefing Damar and explaining, you've got to split up, people can't know each other's names, you've got to be groups of autonomous cells, you've got to start attacking these targets. And then Neroon is basically like...
It's not Neroon. Although, admittedly, now I can't remember the character's name. So he is Neroon.
So,
Leggett Neroon.
Yep. And Neroon is like, but there's Cardassians there. And Kira makes a good point. Yeah, if the moment that the founders discover you're not attacking places with Cardassians, they're going to put Cardassians everywhere to stop you attacking it. It doesn't work.
Yeah. I do like the fact they're calling themselves the Cardassian Liberation Front.
Yes.
That's so Life of Brian. You
It
expect
is.
the Popular Liberation Front to be holding his meeting in the cave next door. And yes, we are back to the
Yes, yes. And then finally they managed to get the data that they want, because they needed a certain level of clearance that it turns out Cisco has. Except the file is dodgy, and that's the point at which Bashir and O'Brien are like, Section 31's involved.
Yeah.
And then you have Neroon provoking Kira, but all she does is throw her dinner on the floor. It looks like she's eating flan. Doesn't it?
I don't know, you're just thinking that because of Neroon, I suspect.
Well, anyway, or boring tofu.
Yes.
And then you notice that Odo is flaking.
Mm.
And then you get an amazing scene between Dukat and Kai Wynn, where she's got no sympathy for him at all. And he goes to touch her, and she's like, "Don't touch me!" And then, and he's all like, "But I thought I belonged in your bed." And she's like, "No, this before I knew who you were." And and then she says, "You're being punished by the par race." And he was like, "No, I was only trying to help." And she was like, "No, you were trying to see if you could do this without me, and you can't. This book is for my eyes only. The par race have punished you for your arrogance." And she casts him out on the street.
Yeah, kicks him out with an evil smile of vengeance on her face.
Yeah. And the thing is, she's not wrong.
Yeah.
You know, she might be evil, but she ain't stupid.
No, she's definitely not stupid.
And I love it, but also as well, the irony of all the things that she was told by Kira she needed to do. Give up power, stop being arrogant, and she's now telling him that's what he needs to do. And then he's like, "What? No, Adami!" And so he's now a blind beggar and says that you'll find the Bajorans are lovely people. Then you find out that Gowron is even more mad than we thought we were. We thought he was.
Anyway.
Because he wants to go on the offensive. Even though we heard at the beginning of the episode, the numbers are 20-1.
Yeah, but the only reason he's doing it is in order to get Martok either killed or discredited in the eyes of the Klingons, so...
Well, it's not just that though as well. The guy's just nuts because he starts talking about how he doesn't want the Klingon Empire to be part of this group. He wants the glory to be ours and ours alone. Gowron's fucking Boris Johnson.
Yeah, and when he says hours and hours alone, he actually means mine and mine alone. That's the thing.
Yeah, but so did Boris Johnson.
Well, basically, yes. But, yeah, and it is all about getting rid of Martok. That's the thing.
Yeah, but it's all about getting rid of Martok, but also not sharing glory. So him not sharing glory as an individual, but he kind of expands on that, and he thinks that the Klingon Empire shouldn't be sharing glory with anybody else.
Yeah, well, that's just his justification in the face of Martok, but actually it's all about him getting rid of Martok.
I think it's both. Yeah. Hence, I'm calling him Boris Johnson. Too many people clearly think that Gowron is just a pair of mad, starey eyes, in the same way as people think Boris Johnson is just floppy hair.
Yeah.
Both of them are cunts.
I'd say Anne-Marie's political views are not shared by the bOrgCast, but actually they are. Anyway.
And then, right at the end, you find out that the reason that Section 31 have been so fucking shady is because the date that Odo was infected is the date that he was at Starfleet Medical.
Yeah.
Section 31 created the virus.
Yeah.
And used Odo as a carrier.
As the carrier, yeah. Originally, he was only going to be a carrier. He wasn't going to be affected by it himself. But then they realised that wasn't very satisfying dramatically. So Ron Moore discovered that he had to change the plot for the next episode that he wrote because suddenly he was getting infected. And as we find out in the next episode, that has implications. So.
Yeah.
Dangers of multiple writers doing an arc.
Yeah. But I think it adds to the plot of the next episode.
Oh, yeah, it adds tension and everything.
And I think as well that we'll come on to it then, but the rationale they have as to why Odo's affected differently makes a lot of sense as well.
Yes. The whole Dukat going blind business was down to the fact they realised they'd started that plot thread too early. They had nothing for them to do for the next two parts. So basically, getting Dukat out of the way, blind on the streets for a while, just stalls the whole Dukat win business just for long enough for it to all build up at right at the conclusion. So.
Poetic justice, though.
It is, yes.
And really good writing.
It is a nice scene. I think this is a finger in the bit parts. No, I know this is a finger in the bit parts because I'm sure you didn't notice him.
I want a bit part in your life. The walk on will be fine. I just want a bit part in your life. I want a bit part in your life.
There's a Cardassian called Seskal. He's the other speaking Cardassian, other than Neroon and Damar, obviously. Did you recognise him at all?
You're asking me to recognise a Cardassian?
Yeah. Okay, it's his voice that's more recognisable, obviously, but this is Vaughn Armstrong, who was there at Destination Star Trek signing autographs, mainly because he's most well known as being the Admiral from Enterprise.
Oh, him?
Yes, this is him.
Okay.
But he's been in Trek an awful lot. He was Captain Chorus back in Next Generation Season 1's Heart of Glory. Guldanar, Deep Space Nine's past prologue in their first season. He was a Romulan scientist, a Vidian, a Klingon and a Hirogen in Voyager, a Klingon Cretacean in Enterprise. So he's pretty much done all the Trek.
But no, I didn't recognise him.
No, you didn't recognise him. I like the fact that Damar says that Kira has a certain set of skills. That was
yes, very taken.
Yes, it was, wasn't it?
Kira Neeson.
Yes. But anyway, it was good fun, wasn't it?
It was.
And it's over in a flash, I find. It's just there's so much happening.
Yeah.
But that's true the next episode as well. Spoilers. But let's find out what people thought of this episode. So we've heard from Doreen. It was a brilliant episode. However, Winge really needs to step down as Kai and take off those robes, as she clearly no longer worships the prophets. Yes, the fact that she's surrounded by loads of statues of them and things as well.
Yeah.
It's like, how hypocritical can you actually be? Well, it turns out very hypocritical. Starfleet Medical are almost as bad as Winge, what with using Odo as a carrier for a biological weapon. The inference is this is Section 31 rather than Starfleet Medical. Klingon culture was on display in this episode too, but there was a power glory hunter here too. Oh yes. Gowron's back. Guess who's back? Starry eyes. Thank you, Doreen.
Thank you. What did Parry make of this one?
Hello, Orgs. Parry here to talk about When It Rains. Now, these two episodes had quite a lot going on in it, so I will probably miss something, but hopefully I don't miss everything. So, everything's still looking a bit gloomy, except one Klingon ship survived the battle, and that was due to a chance minor adjustment in its warp drive. So O'Brien's looking to replicate it in Federation cores, but of course they don't work with quite the same system, and the Romulans are completely stuffed because their power systems are completely different, which does beg the question how the Breen managed to build a weapon that can one-hit kill a ship using a antimatter drive and a quantum singularity core, but apparently can't cope if that matter-antimatter drive has been retuned slightly. But hey-ho, it fits. Gowron's getting an award. No, Gowron's not getting an award. Gowron's giving an award to Martok. Naturally, it being a Klingon ceremony, there's lots of hand cutting, because quite frankly, if you can't cut a huge chunk out of the palm of your hand, for the Klingons at any rate, it's not worth doing. But of course, there is some politics in this, and Gowron's actually wanting to take over and lead more assaults and charges and that sort of thing, which both Worf and Martok see as a very bad idea. I like that, because we've always known Gowron's a political animal. It's always been that part of his personality, for all that we've grown to like him over the years. I mean, he's been there since, season 2? No, season 4 in TNG. At the same time, we've always known he plays politics. We saw it after Redemption, we saw it during Way of the Warrior, so this is very fitting in his character that he's now he's worried about Martok taking over, and he's looking to intervene. So the other thing, of course, Damar started his rebellion last time, and Kira and Odo are being sent there, and in fact, also Garrick, because he's a Cardassian, he knows secrecy, and basically they know that the Cardassians don't know guerrilla fighting, they know straight military fighting, and that's going to get them all killed. So they send Kira, but so that it's not Bajoran, because they wouldn't... I actually thought, because I'd missed this happening, but I actually thought it was done to allow the Bajorans plausible deniability, but it was actually because the Bajoran uniform would be too much that she's given a temporary rank of commander, which I thought was quite neat, and given a Starfleet uniform, which suits her. So she's off, they're all off to Cardassia, but Odo's... now, at this point, we think Odo has picked up a changeling STI from linking too much. I do believe, I can't remember if it was this episode or the next, but we find out that's not the case. But one of the things that I thought about this was, yes, they're all very concerned about Odo. What about Lass? Odo's at least got people looking after him. Lass is somewhere out in space falling to bits. That worried me a little. Not much, but a little. So yeah, overall, a lot going on, and again, a lot of setup happening here. A lot of things being put into place for the next thing. And again, there was also the other thing. I did like it because Kai Wynn told Ducat, if you read those dirty books, you'll go blind. And he thought she was kidding. No, I mean, you've got to consider it, right? The whole are we the baddies moment. Well, look at it this way. You've got a book which only reveals its texts in a blaze of fire when you pour blood on it, and it makes anyone who's not meant to read it blind. I think that book might be evil. Just a hint. I'd probably put it back in the library. That's just what I'm saying. But yeah, overall, some really good stuff, and there's just a lot going on. It's actually a lot to take in. I was almost tempted to go through it a second time, just to get my head around all the different things that have gone on. And again, I'm sure this episode and the next will blur into each other because there's just so much going on in them, and I'll kind of maybe address a little more about that later. But for now, some top stuff here, some really good stuff. It's all developing nicely, and things are really, I've been complaining about the lack of momentum. I can't complain about that now because things are moving on apace, which is good stuff. So I'll be back in a bit to talk about Tacking It Into the Wind and kind of talk a bit about both episodes of one if I've got time. But until then, bye for now.
Thank you, sir.
Bye, thank you. Yeah, I don't really understand why it is that the Klingons doing something weird with their antimatter drive gives them a defence.
But the fact that the Breen weapon, as he points out, is good against the Federation and the Romulans
is very different.
Yes, that's a really interesting point, and just literally just that one Klingon vessel, because they were tinkering with it, is somehow escapes it. It's just convenient plotitis, isn't it? But there we go. Because I don't think we've ever been led to believe that the Klingon engines are much different to Federation ones. We've never, unlike if it had been the Romulans that weren't affected, you'd quite understand
Actually, that would make. I mean, I know it wouldn't fit with the rest of the plot, but it would make more sense.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah. I love that. If you read those dirty books, you'll go blind.
Yeah.
He did, and he did. I think that Kai Wynn, deep down at the very least, knows she's a baddie.
Yes. She's now. Yeah, she's like, I'll go hang. I've tried worshipping these prophets and they've done nothing for me.
Yeah.
I may as well go for the dark side now.
Yeah. But certainly earlier on, I don't think she knew.
No.
But the fact that, she's murdered someone, she's slept with the enemy of her people, all the rest of it, if she's trying to make out she's not a baddie, she's...
Well, just that evil look on her face when she casts Ducat out. It's like, you know you're not a good one, don't you?
Yeah.
And we've heard from Drew and Tracy.
This is our feedback for When It Rains.
Ooh. Odo! What's happening?
Yep.
Oh, I don't know if I like this one.
It was a bit slower paced and a bit dark,
but it's really intriguing because it's like, what the fuck is happening?
Moving this story forward.
Yeah.
So you're obviously talking about Section 31.
Yes.
One thing I'll say is they're saying, Section 31, Section 31. They don't know it's Section 31 yet, do they?
No, they don't.
We're all just assuming it's
And why would it
31.
be Section 31 though?
Well, because they're the kind of baddies of the Federation that they would do it, wouldn't they?
So what I didn't understand, and you might prove me completely wrong here, but so the story is the Federation have used Odo, right? So at some point when he was in Starship,
infected him 3 years ago when he was at Starfleet Medical.
Yes. So, but back then, Odo didn't have any links with the founders. He didn't really know where he'd come from, he didn't really know that there was any. No, there was an episode where he didn't realise that there was more of his kind.
I think.
So how the fuck did
I think we were past that. I think 3 years ago, probably the Dominion and all that was in it. We'd have to look it up, but that would be about Series 4, wouldn't it?
All right, but they're kind of assuming that back in the day, like donkeys years ago, that he was infected. So how would they know that he would meet the founders and do whatever? But you'd think that for him to get into Starfleet, he would have had to go through like a psych, and he would say, "Oh, I'm the only one of my kind, and I don't really know I was born in a lab," and things like that. Because there was that episode where.
At the start of this was 7 years ago, yeah.
Right.
Because each series is like a year. So if you think back 3 years, it's only like Series
21
4.
years ago then.
No. Each one is 1 year, not 7 years. So 3 years ago was like series 4, and the Dominion were definitely in it then.
All right, maybe I'm thinking too much about this. To be fair. So Gowron, he's back.
Yeah, and he's just a bit crazy, isn't
Yeah,
he? Crazy eyes
yeah.
and crazy brain.
He's fucking pissing Martok right off, isn't he? But, you know, Gowron and his bog eyes.
Yep.
And then you've got Michael Dorn continually smelling the fart acting in this.
He does a lot of that, doesn't he?
Not just in this episode, but in everything that
Generally.
he does. He's just continually smelling the fart. It was making me giggle. So Kai Wynn's showing her colours again, isn't she?
Yes.
You know, you have to kind of say, well, she's actually standing up for herself against Golda Cunt and stuff like that, because obviously she knows who he is.
Hey, there's no love lost between her and him.
As a woman of the prophets and stuff like this, you know, she's a woman of peace and happiness and holiness and stuff like that. She's got no fucking compassion, has she?
She's not. She's not peace and love and happiness. She's hate and vile and evil.
She's a nasty old bitch.
But I think
witch.
it's good what she's doing, casting him out and saying, you know, you got to come back when you got some humility. I thought
she
that's
wasn't
good.
casting
It's the one
him
good
out.
thing she's done.
But she's a holy lady, and she weren't casting him out when she thought he was a Bajoran, and she was having it off with him.
He's got to learn his lesson out on the streets now.
Oh, and a blind man as well.
Yes, I know, yes. So he's blind, Odo's ill, it's all happening.
Oh, when he had his hand, I was like, no.
I thought Kira looked great in the uniform.
She suits that
Starfleet
uniform so much better than a Bajoran uniform,
I thought
to be
so
fair.
as well, yeah.
She needs to wear that.
It's good that just teaching them. No,
do you reckon that's a ploy to actually get her into a Federation uniform in the last couple of episodes?
I guess we'll find out. No, I don't, because she's Bajoran through and through, and I'm sure she will go back to Bajoran.
Maybe. Esri and Julian
Bashir,
are getting on my fucking nerves again. What is wrong with these people? So obviously they've got a love interest, and it's the same old bloody cliche. I get fed up with this. She's got something to say. She never fucking spits it out. He gets the wrong impression, and it's just like
the Frasier effect, isn't it?
Are you 12?
Yeah.
Come on now, just sort it out. I really enjoyed this. It wasn't as high tempo as the last couple.
Definitely foot off the pedal, but just story arcing stuff, isn't it?
Really enjoyed this. Really enjoyed Damar in this as well.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah.
You know, it's good. Yeah.
All good stuff.
Can't fault it.
No.
How many have we got left? 4?
4, I believe.
Oh my god. Alright, leave it there then, shall we?
Okay.
Take it easy. See you later. Bye.
Bye. Are you 12? And smelling the fart acting as well. Yeah, he does. Michael Dorn does excel at that.
The thing is, he does that even more in the next one.
Yeah, he does.
He does.
But yeah, just to try and straighten it out for poor old Tracy. So we discover about the Dominion at the end of season 2. And then by season 3, we meet the Changelings right at the beginning. And then season 4, which is Homefront and Paradise Lost.
Yeah.
We have Odo and there's a changeling on Earth and they link. But that's when Odo gets infected. So, yeah, it does work. They haven't messed up the timeline, don't worry.
No. But it wasn't 21 years ago.
No. We haven't been doing this that long, blimey.
It might feel like it sometimes. But
Yeah.
at this rate, with all the series they're bringing out, we'll be doing it 21 years' time.
We will do, yes.
Welcome to bOrgCast 111.6.
Yes. So very old.
What about Llama God? What does he have to say about this one?
Llamagod's log, Scotdate, Okjake, Ok, Trikitsi, Thunder only happens when it's raining. No, okay, probably not. Oh, right then, so things are definitely hotting up here now, aren't they? Well, I mean, they've been hotting up for a while now, but this is definitely staying hot, keeping their heat. I know. First thing to notice about this episode is that it was interesting to see that Michael Dorn is directing. I don't remember if he's actually directed another episode before, but I clearly wanted to get his chance in before the end. I guess it was either this or he'd have to cut his teeth on a Voyager episode, and no one really wants that, do they? Of course, his name wasn't the only thing I noticed in the credits. They've still got the Defiant. I mean, of course, they weren't going to go and change the credits, were they, midway through the season? This isn't Babylon 5 after all. Sorry, I shouldn't say that name. But still, hurts a bit to have that there. there. So the Cardassian revolt is going quite well, but of course they're not organised, so obviously Starfleet's cunning plan is to send bOrgCast, and they're going to send Kira. That's going to go well, isn't it? I mean, I don't know, it's weird that she kind of objects to it, because that's where she met Damar, wasn't it? She was helping Dukat actually organise his resistance against the Klingons, so it's not like there's no precedence for this, although I guess that a lot has happened since then. But it does give Kira the excuse to wear a Starfleet uniform, finally, and what's quite interesting is that this actually makes her look a lot more professional than her weird Major's jumpsuit does. I mean, her very first uniform, way back in season 1, that looked like a proper military uniform, but, you know, she's obviously been softened, because obviously she's one of the women on the show, so they can't look too harsh, can they? But this now makes her look professional again, much as it did when Troy finally got her uniform in season 6 of Next Generation. So, yeah, you know, so this is a good move. And it's great to see the fact that Garrett gets to go along with them as well, because that's one of the joys of the episode, is that we get to see him, and the next episode as well, I'll just get a bit ahead of myself, but is to see Garrick in the background just gloating and enjoying all the intrigue and the arguments that are going on. So, I mean, of course he's going to enjoy that sort of stuff. It's intrigue. He lives for that. And we learn that Odo is infected. I think I'd completely forgotten that he got infected, so this is interesting to know. It does beg the question, though, did he also infect Lars? Is Lars flying through space now, showing signs of this illness? Because, you know, they're not going to find him again. Maybe he'll come back. I don't know. We've still got a few episodes left. Maybe we'll see him again. Alongside that and the illness, we've also got the slight and understandable breakdown between Dukat and Kai Wynn, and Kai Wynn still continuing her vein of being the proper in the background, just gloating and enjoying all the intrigue and the arguments that are going on. So, I mean, of course he's going to enjoy that sort of stuff. It's intrigue. He lives for that. And we learn that Odo is infected. I think I'd completely forgotten that he got infected, so this is interesting to know. It does beg the question, though, did he also infect Lars? Is Lars flying through space now, showing signs of this illness? Because, you know, they're not going to find him again. Maybe he'll come back. I don't know. We've still got a few episodes left. Maybe we'll see him again. Alongside that and the illness, we've also got the slight and understandable breakdown between Dukat and Kai Wynn, and Kai Wynn still continuing her vein of being the proper actual bad guy, because she only wants the worthy to survive. I mean, that doesn't sound at all horrifying, does it? Who gets to decide who's worthy? Oh, she does. So basically anyone that she doesn't dislike. So that's going to go well for everyone. But it is lovely the way that she treats Dukat after he blinds himself. You know, the text is only for her eyes, so he gets blinded, which is a little bit on the nose, I guess, or on the eyes or something, I don't know. But yeah, and actually trying to teach Dukat humility, that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he survives like that, because he's very much someone who's arrogant and is used to being in positions of dominance and power, so we'll see how he copes in that. And the big thing, of course, is that Gowron has arrived on a bird of prey, which is a bit weird. I guess all the big cruisers are being used in offensives, but it's still a bit weird. I guess he had to appear on one of the stock footage Klingon birds of prey, so yeah, well, it's war, times of need, tight budgets and all that, because Martok has been given honour. We honour Martok in the honour that Kahless taught us, he states, and then they all cut their hands. If this is what Kahless taught them, then all I can say is that Kahless was an idiot. Heresy, I know, but I mean, come on, that hurts. At least Admiral Ross acknowledges that in conversation with Sisko. I mean, what I really love to see now is a scene with Kahless, with the clone Kahless, who is asked to perform the same ritual with them. Is that, this is the way you taught us, Kahless? Like, no, I fucking didn't. Why the fuck do you do this? You idiots! You can't use your weapon hands. Why would you do this? This wasn't my idea. I wept. What a bunch of idiots. But of course, Gowron isn't here, just in the background, just gloating and enjoying all the intrigue and the arguments that are going on. So, I mean, of course he's going to enjoy that sort of stuff. It's intrigue. He lives for that. And we learn that Odo is infected. I think I'd completely forgotten that he got infected, so this is interesting to know. It does beg the question, though, did he also infect Lars? Is Lars flying through space now, showing signs of this illness? Because, you know, they're not going to find him again. Maybe he'll come back. I don't know. We've still got a few episodes left. Maybe we'll see him again. Alongside that and the illness, we've also got the slight and understandable breakdown between Dukat and Kai Wynn, and Kai Wynn still continuing her vein of being the proper actual bad guy, because she only wants the worthy to survive. I mean, that doesn't sound at all horrifying, does it? Who gets to decide who's worthy? Oh, she does. So basically anyone that she doesn't dislike. So that's going to go well for everyone. But it is lovely the way that she treats Dukat after he blinds himself. You know, the text is only for her eyes, so he gets blinded, which is a little bit on the nose, I guess, or on the eyes or something, I don't know. But yeah, and actually trying to teach Dukat humility, that's interesting. It'll be interesting to see how he survives like that, because he's very much someone who's arrogant and is used to being in positions of dominance and power, so we'll see how he copes in that. And the big thing, of course, is that Gowron has arrived on a bird of prey, which is a bit weird. I guess all the big cruisers are being used in offensives, but it's still a bit weird. I guess he had to appear on one of the stock footage Klingon birds of prey, so yeah, well, it's war, times of need, tight budgets and all that, because Martok has been given honour. We honour Martok in the honour that Kahless taught us, he states, and then they all cut their hands. If this is what Kahless taught them, then all I can say is that Kahless was an idiot. Heresy, I know, but I mean, come on, that hurts. At least Admiral Ross acknowledges that in conversation with Sisko. I mean, what I really love to see now is a scene with Kahless, with the clone Kahless, who is asked to perform the same ritual with them. Is that, this is the way you taught us, Kahless? Like, no, I fucking didn't. Why the fuck do you do this? You idiots! You can't use your weapon hands. Why would you do this? This wasn't my idea. I wept. What a bunch of idiots. But of course, Gowron isn't here just to honour Martok. He's here for his own aims, because of course he is. It's Gowron. Gowron's always been out just for himself. He's always been looking for the political angle on things. He's never been what you consider to be an honourable warrior Klingon. So yeah, he's scared. He's coming to usurp Martok, and it's already going badly. So yeah, quite a lot of things happening in this one, and a lot of political things happening, with both Dukat and Martok being pushed into different positions. So we'll see how all this resolves, won't we? I'm sure it can only go swimmingly. So let's find out.
Oh yes. Lars is indeed infected somewhere out there, so he's pretty much screwed, isn't he?
Yeah, as Purry said, falling apart in space.
Yeah, and I know he doesn't come back. I think we pointed that out back there. They considered bringing him back, but just wasn't time, and it's just one extra plot arc that they just didn't have space for. So
yeah,
a bawling Neroon stroke Rasot, because I've got a note here of his actual name, out for not terroristing properly.
Yes.
It's kind of amusing that they still have the big cave base, although there's only a handful, because in the previous episode, Kira told them that they had to be in small cells, but they haven't downgraded at all in terms of... So presumably the other cells are out there somewhere in much smaller,
they didn't actually say that they had a few locations for other cells.
Yes, but I bet they're not as luxurious as the cave set. Odo returns from a successful strike, clearly exhausted, and Kira is likewise clearly worried about his health. We see what a state he becomes when he relaxes, thanks to all the shape-changing that he's been doing off-screen to save a bit of money. Boo. That's our teaser. Bashir can't find a cure for Odo's people, and O'Brien points out the only way they'll get a cure is to go to Section 31. Gowron's great offensive against the Dominion is not going well. What a surprise. And the Chancellor is blaming Martok. Sisko's having none of it. Balls the Chancellor of the Klingon High Council out.
I love it.
As you do.
My note was Sisko breaking Gowron's balls.
Yeah. I'm amazed they didn't sell popcorn in order for people to watch this. Interestingly, in a deleted scene, Gowron would have said to Sisko, Martok's flagship won't return to the station for 3 days. That should give me time to finalise plans for our next operation. To which Sisko then says, well, Chancellor, we can't afford to keep wasting ships in these reckless attacks. And Gowron threateningly tells Sisko, I like a brave man, Captain, but not a foolish one. The soldiers of the Empire are mine to command. If I say the attacks will continue, they continue. Yeah, you could just hear him saying those lines, can't you?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it's so... I mean, spoilers, he dies in this story. Yeah. But it's so sad we have to say goodbye to such a great character. Yeah. I mean, he does get his just desserts, and you cheer when he dies, but it's like, oh, we are going to miss you. Weyoun is claiming that no one could have foreseen Damar becoming a terrorist. But the Alpha founder says that they would have had him eliminated if the Vorta cloning facilities hadn't been destroyed.
I like that.
Nice bit of motivation there. Plus, he then says, "Oh, how long before they're repaired?
Days, weeks, maybe even.
Hurry up, because I want to kill you." The meeting is also attended by Throt Pran, not Throt Gore. No explanation what happened to Throt Gore, but apparently it's a different actor under the costume, would you believe? Not that you'd know, I mean, but bizarre. As the Dominion are working on installing the Breen dampening weapons on their ships, Kira decides they ought to capture one to send to the Federation so they can develop a countermeasure. All good sense.
Yeah.
Worf points out to Sisko that the crazy attacks Gowron keeps ordering are aimed at humiliating Martok in the eyes of the people.
Yeah.
And Sisko is understandably unimpressed with Gowron putting his own interests above the greater good. And Worf has a cunning plan. Rasot makes the mistake of challenging Kira, and she gives his ass a good whooping.
I love this.
Very satisfying.
I love the line where she goes, have I touched a nerve?
Like...
And she goes, no, this is touching a nerve. He's like,
But even more glorious, we find out Garak was watching the whole time in the shadows, but didn't think she needed any help.
I love that.
Kill him before he kills you, he recommends with a degree of glee.
Yes.
Andrew Robinson, full smiley mode. It's fantastic. Worf wants Martok to challenge Gowron, but the General has too much honour to attack his boss during war. Plus, he's aware of his lowly heritage, which, of course, was spoken of back in Once More Into the Breach. So you can understand his motivation for not wanting to challenge, because, you know, he's too low class. Oh, dear. Damar hears that his family have been executed. What kind of people give those orders, he wonders, and Kira makes the answer clear to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then we can get anal about spaceships.
now it's time to get anal about spaceships.
Woohoo!
Took a trip.
Yay! Because we get to see the Cardassian shuttle, which is basically a CG version of the Hideki class design that we've seen before. But that was stated to be a patrol ship, where this is supposed to be a shuttle. So it's not clear if it's the same ship class or they're just reusing the model. Wake up. Worf confides in Esri and points out she's still a member of the House of Martok, which is news to her.
Yeah.
Apparently they think she's honourable, which she says is sweet.
I love that.
To Worf's objection. And then when he stupidly asks her for her honest opinion, she gives it.
I like it.
Says the Klingon Empire is dying and deserves to be left to cark it, basically.
Yeah.
It's wonderful that her approach to Klingons is completely different to Jadzier's.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, this is a different person, all right?
Yeah.
It may still be the Dax host, but she's got a whole different approach to Klingons. That's great, that is. She rightly points out how unhonourable the levels of corruption in the Empire are. It's a lovely, sweet scene, and these two are great as buds. This is the way they should have been all the way.
Yeah.
Kira's shuttle arrives at the Kelvus repair facility, which is a stunning CG model. Fantastic. It's a modified version of the Monac shipyards that we saw in Shadows and Symbols. But this is a lot more bulky. They've bulked it out.
It looks like they melted Deep Space Nine.
Yeah, well, it's Cardassian, so it's supposed to look similar, but there's a lot more detail and it's a lot bulkier and bigger. Boarding a Jem'Hadar ship with Kira as a prisoner, they're told they have to hand in their weapons as Cardassians are no longer allowed to be armed on their vessels, which is clearly very embarrassing. And we get to finger the bit part.
I want a bit part in your life, rehearsing all the time. I just want a bit part in your life.
Yeah, the Cardassian guard, Vornar. He's played by J. Paul Boermere. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He was the SS dude in the Voyager Vichy France story. One of the few I actually vaguely remember, The Killing Game.
I don't.
No? He also played a Borg drone in a Voyager episode, the same name.
Yeah, right, okay.
He was the Vulcan who fell in love with a human in Enterprise's Carbon Creek. We saw that more recently, I think. Another SS guard in their very naff Nazi story. And he's also been in Orville as an ambassador. You think it's a bit weird that no one recognises Damar, considering his notoriety at this point. But then Vornar reveals that he does actually recognise him and wishes him luck, so that's a nice touch. And cleverly, Kira drops her handcuffs and it's revealed that they've been Odo all along.
Nice.
He's into bondage. The ship is under the command of Luaran. Do you recognise her?
Well, I did, but because of Destination Star Trek, because her photo was up.
Yeah.
It's Armin Shimmerman's wife, isn't it?
It
Kitty
is.
Swink.
It is Kitty Swink, yes.
But I wouldn't have known if it weren't for the fact that really recently I saw her, as in what she looked like a human, behind
Up front.
up front behind a poster.
That was another.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, and that was another good thing about Destination Star Trek this year. They basically got all the people who were signing autographs lined up, so you could see them really and get relatively close, even though you hadn't paid to get an autograph. So you got to see all these actors up close.
Yeah.
It was lovely. Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, there she is as a human in front of a picture of herself as a Vorta with a big sign saying Kitty Swink. And I was like, oh, I know who that is.
And you might think, oh, what an obscure actor. I mean, she has been in Deep Space Nine before.
She has as other things, yes.
Yeah, she played Minister Rozan in Season 2's Sanctuary. But the whole point of her coming to Destination Star Trek was just so she could spend more time with her husband, which is really sweet. If she's there, she may as well sign some autographs.
She was in it, she may as well sign stuff, yeah.
Bless.
Yeah.
By the way, her husband isn't in this episode or the next, as he was filming the finale of Season 3 of Buffy. You remember he was the head master, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
There's a cunning bit of business with Odo disguising himself as the Alpha founder.
I like that.
Allowing Garak to wipe out the entire bridge crew. But they find out the Breen weapon isn't fully installed yet. Whoops.
Oh, I love our son's take on this, though. Because they do this thing where she goes, I say she, the Alpha changeling, goes, let me see that weapon, looks at it and says, it's an excellent weapon.
Yes.
And he's like, Chef Excellence.
Our son is a big Ashens fan on YouTube, and he has the thing about an excellent whatever.
Yes.
So yes,
an excellent weapon.
Then Luaran is hailed, and Kira does a pretty credible impression of her, it has to be said. O'Brien comes up with a plan to trap somebody from Section 31 by claiming they have a cure. I wonder who that will be.
Devious.
Originally, O'Brien and Bashir were to set off for a planet that was the HQ of Section 31 at the end of the episode. But then they realised they hadn't got the budget for a new planet and new sets and stuff, so Section 31 had to come to them.
Yeah. But also, it makes them more mysterious and more believable that they've been able to stay hidden for so long.
Yes.
If it's
they
about...
haven't found their base.
Yeah.
Garon is outlining his latest suicidal scheme, and Martok agrees to it, reluctantly, but he, says, I'm a warrior, I'll follow my orders. But Worf does not.
No.
And challenges the Chancellor on behalf of the House of Martok.
Fight, 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 fight!
This was awesome.
It's a fantastic fight scene, with Worf getting thrown through a glass display thingy. Although, unfortunately, as you pointed out, it quite clearly isn't...
Robert O'Reilly at one point.
Yes.
Yeah, Stuntman's blatant.
Stuntman doesn't have the starry eyes. But anyway, Worf manages to defeat Garon with a shard of Batleth.
Oh, I love it.
How cool is that?
I know, it's awesome. But also, as well, Garon's got where he has by scheming. You kind of believe that he's probably not much cop as a warrior.
No.
So it's perfectly believable that Worf's going to take him down.
Going to prawn him again. Because you remember, he nearly prawned him back at the beginning of season 5 in Apocalypse Rising. And this is kind of like sort of part 2 and he gets to finish the job.
Yeah. Whereas, had it been Worf taking on Martok, you wouldn't have believed it. Do you know what I mean? Whereas,
Yeah. Well, Worf, anyway, gives Garon the honour of the Klingon death howl, which is probably more than he deserved, to be honest. Originally, Garon was just going to resign control over to Martok, but Ron Moore realised that was letting him off the hook. And Michael Dorn, when he read the script, apologised to Robert O'Reilly for killing off his character. End of your paycheck, sorry. Worf is hailed as the new leader of the Empire, but passes on the honour to Martok, which, let's face it, nobody's going to swallow Worf being in charge of the Empire, are they? So... And Worf either quotes Kahless or Shakespeare from Twelfth Night. Be not afraid of greatness. Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and others have greatness thrust upon them.
Well, we know that Shakespeare was originally written in Klingon, so there
you go, yes, it all makes sense. When word gets out that it wasn't Martok, though, aren't Klingons going to be a bit cheesed off that, the person who defeated Garon isn't actually in charge of the Empire?
I don't know that they're going to care, because A, they all hate Garon, and B, they all love Martok.
Possibly.
And I think the High Council would never have accepted Worf.
Well, no, they wouldn't, would they? Odo collapses, Rousseau loses it, and we end up with a three-way...
Finale.
Yes. No, not like that. With phasers drawn, you've got Garak covering Neroon, and you've got Damar covering Garak, and it's like, oh, how's this going to end? And it ends with Damar shooting Neroon. It's all very powerful stuff.
Put your weapons down, both of you!
You want her dead too, Damar, I know you do. But you're the leader of the rebellion, and don't want to kill someone wearing a Starfleet uniform. Let me do it for you.
They finished installing the dampening weapon.
Then let's all get the hell out of here.
Not you. I'm still here, Rusat. Damar, shoot him. We can kill them both and keep the Breen weapon for ourselves. I believe in you, Damar. I know you're the right man to restore the Empire we so loyally served. The Empire we loved. Together, we can lead our people to greatness again. Just aim and fire.
He was my friend. But his Cardassian is dead. And he won't be coming back.
Yeah.
Tense stuff. And you point this out, I think, when we were at the end of the first episode when he was not well, but why doesn't Odo go into a liquid form when he's being paralysed by this?
If he's struggling to hold his shape, I get that repeatedly changing shape is making it worse. But why does he not have a bucket?
Yeah.
And then the same way as he always used to say he couldn't hold the same shape for 8 hours. So why does he not revert to his liquid state?
Yeah, I thought that would be easier than staying humanoid but being all
flaky.
Because
I had assumed when watching the Alpha Changeling, that she was basically in a bucket or similar as goo until she needed to put the effort into a physical form.
Yeah. Although it's noticeable now that in front of the Breen, she's not bothering covering the fact that she's diseased. So.
Maybe she can't.
Yeah. But yeah, another action-packed story. Fantastic to have an end to the arc for Garon that started way back in Next Generation.
Yeah.
And, Martok's in charge of the Empire. Wow. Yes. Awesome stuff.
Excellent. We've heard from Doreen, who writes, "Wow, this was action-packed. I'm so glad Garon got his comeuppance. Me too. I cheered and clapped. I was really proud of Worf when he put the Chancellor's cape around Martok's shoulders. Winge could learn a lot from that man."
Yes.
Good point. Kira is doing a good job in very difficult circumstances, and she even seems to be bringing Damar around to the truth.
By the end, yes. Thank you, Doreen.
Thank you.
Glad you're enjoying it. Sampo has this to say, and he's talking about both episodes, which seem to consist of about half a dozen B-plots. So I'll again combine my feedback for them and look at the story arcs. Let's get the easy one out of the way first. Now that Wynn knows about Dukat, it appears that their alliance is breaking up. The Par-Wraiths are offering power, and they both want to grab it. So Dukat goes to read some of the forbidden texts, and for some reason, the Par-Wraiths choose to blind him. I wonder if some hair started to grow on his palms as well. Okay. Wynn sees this as her chance and throws him out into the streets. Let's see where this goes. Well, basically this is just them stalling for time because they realise they started that too early. On the war front, the Klingons have found a way to technobabble a defence against the Breen weapon. This does not help the Federation or the Romulans, however, so the only thing standing between them and the Dominion are the Klingons, quite ironically. But things get interesting when old Boggle Eyes Garon arrives on the station to induct Martok into the Order of Kahless or something. The Klingons really like to add of Kahless to a lot of things.
They do!
Yeah, they don't talk about the bog roll of Kahless too often, but anyway. Things start chummy enough, but soon Garon plays his hand and takes command of the Klingon fleet instead of Martok. While this is bad enough, Garon then decides that they should go on the offensive and starts sending Martok on impossible missions. Worf quite correctly assumes he is only doing this because he fears Martok's political power and wants him either dead or dishonoured. And this leads to the series handling something which has been quite consistent throughout the Next Generation era, Trek. Although the Klingons talk about honour, it appears that Worf is one of the only truly honourable Klingons. I think Martok is as well, to be fair. But yeah.
Kern was.
Yeah. Ezri makes Worf see this, and he goes to challenge Garon, which ends in stabbing, like Klingon things usually do. Again with the stabbing. Martok tries to appoint Worf to be the new Chancellor, but Worf reverses the situation. I would think that the way Martok became Chancellor would not sit well with many Klingons. It wasn't just me. But on the other hand, he is so popular that it most likely will not become a problem, as you said.
Yep.
Another major plot line throughout the episodes is Kira, Odo and Garak going to teach Damar to be a guerrilla fighter. Things are tense as one would expect, but things appear to go quite well. Things do start to get out of hand with the Cardassian Not Neroon. He directly threatens Kira, but Kira still plays it cool. Or, the Kira version of cool, as in that she doesn't actually kill anybody. But when the mission to capture the Breen weapon starts to go bad, Not Neroon decides that the best course of action is to shoot all the non-Cardassians. This brings Damar's arc full circle as he shoots his friend because he realises he represents a Cardassia that no longer exists. So the gang gets back to the station with the Breen weapon, and O'Brien can start studying how to defend against the weapon. The final major plot arc is Odo and his illness. Just after Odo has left to help Damar, Bashir found out that he is infected with the same disease as the Founders. First he assumes he got it from linking with the Alpha Changeling, as you do when you link without protection. But after dealing with some especially annoying Starfleet medical personnel, he finds out it was actually Starfleet Medical who infected Odo. And he is the one who infected all the other Changelings. Bashir and O'Brien take a bit of a long shot and decide it has to be the work of Section 31. It's devious. It's got to be Section 31, really, hasn't it?
That's what they said.
Yeah. Bashir is unable to find a cure, which is not surprising because the entire Dominion has been unable to find a cure either. So they decide that if they want a cure, they need to get it from Section 31. There are also some scenes where Ezri and Bashir try to work out their relationship. They consist of people not listening to each other and misunderstanding each other. Yeah. They were my least favourite parts of this episode, written like in a bad soap opera.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's so little of it that it doesn't bother me too much. So nevertheless, really enjoying the ride. Too bad it's over so soon. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. When it comes to the irritating nature of Ezri and Bashir, it's brief.
Yes.
But it is irritating.
Yeah, I wish they hadn't done it, but at least it doesn't take up too much screen time, unlike Ezri and Worf.
Yeah.
Llama God has this to say.
Llama God's log. Supplemental. we're breaking into the wind. It is, of course, better out than in. Wow, yeah, a lot comes to a head in this episode, doesn't it? And I think, and you'll be unsurprised to hear about this, what I really want to talk about most is all the Klingon stuff. This is some fantastic stuff here, which leads into complaints and criticisms I have of some of the Star Trek films, actually. Not that there's a dearth of things to criticise them for in the first place, but still, this is essentially what we have here is what I consider to be the end of Mr. Worf's story, as he basically concludes a storyline, a through line that has been running since Sins of the Father. Obviously, this is a Ronald D. Moore penned episode, at least I seem to remember seeing that in the credits. But yeah, ever since the intrigue within the Klingon Council was uncovered and he had to face his discommendation, Worf's been going through a lot of upheaval. You know, there was his discommendation, his reinstatement after the battles in the Redemption two-parter and the Klingon Civil War, and this episode kind of, in a way, brings it to a close with Worf actually finally finding his place in the Klingon Empire. For a brief moment there, he almost has the highest of places. I mean, this is glorious to see. Worf finally calls out Gowon, and he has a reason to do so as well. It's an honourable reason, an obvious thing to call it, as he says to Esri. And just as a side, I do love the conversation with Worf and Esri, where Esri really lays the smackdown on the state of the Klingon Empire, and she's not wrong. The Empire has been headed by someone who doesn't embody all their virtues. I know this is something that's frustrated Worf for a very long time. But in terms of his evolution as a character, I mean, there's the great moment at the end of Redemption Part 2 where he spares Torel's life. You know, Gowon tells him, "But it is the Klingon way," and Worf says, "I know, but it is not my way." And that's the thing, is that Worf's always been, thanks to being brought up by humans, been treading this line between what the true Klingon is and what actual Klingons are. And in some respects, Worf is more of a proper Klingon than any Klingons, because being brought up away from humans, he's learned about the cultures from afar, and therefore he adheres to them stronger than people who actually live the life. You know, he's a lot more observant than most Klingons are. Worf is one of the truest Klingons that there is, and that's something the Klingon Empire has been missing until now, until Worf actually challenges Gowon in a fight. It's a slight shame that the battle wasn't staged a little bit better, but I don't really know how good Robert O'Reilly's fighting prowess is, and that kind of matches the fact that Gowon isn't really that much of a warrior himself, is he? But it is just a fantastic scene, and I love Gowon's final words, where he, even then, refuses to admit defeat, because he's a politician, he's a proper politician, and he's never going to give in. And Worf, for half a minute, is Chancellor of the Klingon Empire, but he's a good man. He's so good a man that he knows that he is not the right man. Because of his outsider status, his checkered family history, he's not the right person to lead the Empire into the future, and so Martok more rightfully becomes Chancellor. And in doing so, Worf, or at least he hopes to restore the Klingon Empire to the state that it always should have been. And this is glorious, and it is indeed the right thing for Worf to do. If anyone was ever going to do it, it was going to be Worf. And this is something that then frustrates me about the films, because as I say, Worf has sort of threaded his way through life. I mean, there was the slightly questionable romance between him and Troy, where he was kind of neutered. By the time he came to Deep Space Nine, he became a Klingon again. And so when he turns up in subsequent films, I mean, even in Insurrection and in Star Trek Nemesis, he's used as more of a comedy character. And that's a shame, and that's why I really wish he wasn't appearing in those films, because I think now his own story has come to a bit of a climax. And I can't really think of a more fitting end to Worf's story. I mean, obviously we're going to feature him in the next few episodes, but Worf has fixed the Klingon Empire, so I absolutely love this, and I love that Gowon finally gets what he deserves. But, you know, he got at least 10 years longer as Chancellor than anyone would have expected back when we first met him, so, you know, he's not had a bad innings. So yeah, aside from that, there's still loads that's good going on. O'Brien coming up with a plan for capturing Section 31 is great. It's him and Julian against Section 31. Let's see how that goes. And there's all the tensions in the Cardassian camp and a plan to capture the ship. So it is horrifying to learn that Damar's family have all been killed, but that just steals him. And then, unfortunately, he kills Spoon Neroon, but he had to do that because Damar is someone who is also learning to be a different person, to do the right thing for his people. There's a few things here that are thematically entwined. So yeah, no, this has been an absolutely fantastic pair of episodes, and I love this. Although I don't remember all the details, like I've forgotten Odo getting sick, I could not have forgotten Worf's final showdown with Gowon, and yeah, I just absolutely love this. So yeah, it's sad that there's only four more episodes left. One of the two-part, I'm counting as 4, so there. But at least we've had this, so that's great. So until next time, you will not have this cast. Oh no, wait, yeah, you will. It's totally your cast. I'm not going to swoop in there and take it for you, would I? That'd be rude. Kapla!
Kapla! Spoon Neroon!
Spoon Neroon, yeah. Excellent.
I really like the way you describe this. We're thinking of this as Gowron's arc, but you're right, it's Worf's arc.
And
absolutely.
And continuing the story right back from Redemption.
Yeah.
Fantastic. And Worf is very much, the Klingon idealist, isn't he? He's learnt about the Klingon Empire from afar. He's read all the propaganda, basically. And then the reality is, not so good.
Which, as you point out, Lama, he's known this from Sins of the Father, from way back. And I wonder partly if that's why Esri knows to raise it, because obviously she's going to know all Worf's history, because he would have told Jadzia.
And when she says that even you, incredibly honourable guy, is willing to put up with this corruption, what hope is there for the Empire? You can see that sting, can't you?
Yes.
Because a larger degree, that's what Martok's doing. He's putting up with it because he doesn't want to play politics. He's got no interest in the political life, so he's just going to put up with the fact that he's got a corrupt boss, basically.
Yeah, but then Worf steps up and takes out Gowron. Because Worf is the man, and he does it.
Okay, is he? Right.
Yes.
The Klingon man.
Yes.
Okay.
Sorry. Now, me and Llama are big Klingon fans, so we love this. But what did Drew and Tracy make of this?
So that was Tacking Into the Wind?
I believe so.
What a fucking bizarre title. What does that mean?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
Yep.
Oh my god, poor Odo.
I know, this is not good. I really was thinking,
he was going to cop it at the end of this.
Yeah.
I really thought that. It's too sad.
I know. It's real heartstring stuff with Kira as well, and it was he's hiding it from her, and she knows it, but she won't admit.
Yeah, so
oh, goodness.
So Kira, he wants to not show Kira that he's as bad as he is because he doesn't want her pity.
The stress, and the stress.
Yeah,
she's got enough on her shoulders,
and she knows that he's going through it. So if they love each other and they have a good relationship, then just be honest with each other, because then she can't support him through him being really poorly, and it's just
it doesn't always work that way.
I know, but it's just crazy crackers, and it's just like, just go give him a hug because he's got not long left.
Gowron, you know what? I never knew that Gowron was a baddie. I know he's always been a bit of a git, but he's a full-on baddie now.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. When Wolf stabbed him, and it did make me laugh when he's holding open his bug eyes.
Oh, yeah. He needs to see them one last time.
But so Martok's a chancellor now.
But when just stepping back a little bit, when Worf did like smart Gowron, I looked at you and I was like, no way! I can't believe that he's done that. That's
I
nuts.
did think though when they started fighting, I was like, what's going to happen here? Because there's no way that Worf dies.
No.
We know that he doesn't. He's in like Nemesis and all that lot.
Sure.
I was like, he's got to kill Gowron, I guess.
But if you die in a series, you can't be in a film then.
No,
but they're not interlinked, are they?
Yeah, of course they are. Yeah.
So is what I fucking know. So, Damar.
I know. He's strength to strength, isn't it?
What did I tell you?
You didn't say anything of this such.
I just have to say that he's got lolly eyes.
I know, yes. He's got really piercing blue eyes, hasn't he?
Very pretty.
Yeah, he's a handsome guy. There's no two ways about that. Yes, and that Russat, I think his name was, got what was coming to him for a long time now.
Face. He should have shot him in the head.
Yeah, maybe.
Right in the kisser.
Yeah, it's good. It's good stuff, really.
Yeah. So the founder lady, just have to say, she's now showing her scabby self to the Breen.
Yeah, she's just in front of everyone now.
Yeah, but we was quite shocked. Oh, she's showing herself now.
Yeah.
And she's a right hard-nosed little bitch,
I know.
isn't she?
They've always the founders have always been like baddies, but they are just real baddies, aren't they? Just like killing Cardassian families and that. They're just
she's
baddies.
Nasty. But I just have to ask one question, right? So they're melting. In essence, right?
Yeah. So drying up, isn't it? Kind of thing, like
whatever.
flaking.
Okay. So her clothes are kind of like
part of her, aren't they? Yeah.
So at the top half, she's almost showing boob here because it's becoming quite visible.
Right,
like her dress.
It's a bit weird, but yeah.
Her dress is becoming. It's disintegrating, so you can almost see like boob there.
I don't think there's any boob. I think it's just like going into her form.
Because it's like disappearing the dress, it gives the appearance that she's having boob underneath. But then her dress bit is still flowing. I don't quite get that.
No, it's just progression of the disease, isn't it?
But Odo looks 10 times worse than she does.
He does, yes, I know.
And why? Because his face is flaking. What the fuck is going on with his hair?
Well, it's just that's part of him, isn't it? But he did say it's because he's continually changing shape on all these missions.
And I guess he's had it so long.
Well, he said it's accelerated every time he changes. Perhaps the female changeling doesn't change many shapes, apart from obviously her normal form.
Bitchness is just keeping her together a little bit
maybe.
longer, isn't it? Anyway, this is really tense again.
Yes, I know.
Not very much Cisco in this, although he did give Gowron
a bit of a run for his money, yeah.
But Ben needs to step up. He needs to be doing a bit more in the last couple of episodes, I fear.
Oh, he's all right.
I'm sure there's lots to come, but this is getting a bit too super tense.
But good stuff anyway.
Yeah, man. How many have we got left? Is this
3?
This next one and then a super duper episode.
So.
All right. Let's have it then.
Okay.
Take it easy. Bye.
Bye. Yes, there is more Cisco to come, don't worry.
Yes. And yeah, I commented as well about Worf holding open Gowron's bug eyes.
Yeah.
Look at them bug eyes one last time.
He went out as he lived, yes. Staring into our faces. Yeah, she doesn't have any boobs. She isn't a she, so yeah. Let's not worry about that. But tacking into the wind is a naval phrase. Well, not a naval, just a sailing phrase, basically. When you're on a sailing boat and you want to head in the direction that the wind is hitting you at, if you see what I mean, then you have to tack. So that means angling your sail and going zigzag, basically. Because obviously it's easy when the wind's behind you, but if you're going into the wind, that's a lot harder. It's all about being hard work.
Right. They didn't call it hard work.
No, because that's not very poetical, is it?
They could have called it Spoon Neroon.
Spoon Neroon, that's what we're calling it. But anyway. And finally, Mr. Purry.
Hello again, Purry here to talk about Tacking into the Wind. And this kind of almost finishes off a little mini Klingon arc with, Gowron sending the Klingons into massive, hopeless battles, and then blaming the fact that they get soundly beaten on Martok, and saying, isn't Martok rubbish, he can't handle these battles. Well, you're outnumbered 50-1, we're Klingons. Yeah, as always, the Klingon culture backing up, and indeed there was a really nice talk about how the Klingon traditions harm them so often. I quite liked Ezri's thing on it, saying, well, I like them, but you've got some serious problems in how you do things. The fact that this is how, you all look at high honour, and I think we've said this about Worf quite often, that he still sees the Klingons as his ideal of the warrior people, because he read about them. He learned about Klingoning through books, but the actual Klingons play games. Now, Martok's a bit different, because Martok's very much a straight arrow. He's the sort of guy, he just wants to get done. He is a warrior. He just wants to go out and fight things and then get absolutely hammered afterwards. And he's not got interest in these political leanings, but of course, there's an absolute viper's nest in there who are willing to be as devious as the next Romulan. Just to get into power. And I thought it was really interesting how that eventually ends up, they end up taking over, they end up killing Gowron, and that's quite significant. We've just seen Gowron killed. I mean, how long have we known? Well, I said last time, from season 4 TNG, Gowron's been a staple in Trek for over a decade. I mean, not a staple, but he's been a regular character. And that itself is really impressive, that they actually went that way and killed him off. I was really amazed that they were that brave. They didn't just take him out and have him. You'd think, particularly with the conversations about change, that they'd have no, I won't kill him, and we're doing things differently. I'm not going to kill him, but now Martok will be Chancellor or something. But it didn't go that way, and indeed they were going to, because Worf killed him, Worf was going to be Chancellor, and Worf said, nope, not me, and ditched that on Martok, because he's not having any of that. That looks like no fun whatsoever. So that was a little mini arc, and the other main focus of the episode was on Kira and the Resistance, and the fact that she's not getting along with Rasot. He's definitely planning bad things for her. I did wonder when they had sort of the confrontation in the cave set, which the Cardassians are now set up as their permanent base, and he walked off, and Garak kind of emerges from the shadow into the light. Garak spent hours getting that light just right. You knew he had that set up so that he could emerge just in time. And that's got two threads. The first one is with Odo being ill but hiding it because he doesn't want Kira to worry, but Kira already knows. I thought that was actually a brilliant piece when Garak says to her, he's got the virus and it's really taking over. We also have the little subplot with O'Brien and Bashir looking at the Section 31. We're working out that Section 31 devised it, and in fact that he was infected all the way back in Homefront, which is a nice reference, actually. It really worked quite well. It's just something that caught me by surprise. And again, I have seen this through once, but little elements like that quite often get missed, so it's nice that it can still surprise me like that. And indeed, Bashir's thing of they can't alert Section 31 because they'll come there and break all their things, but they're now trying a slightly more devious approach. Kira wants to seize an energy weapon from a Dominion ship, and so they do a daring raid, which briefly goes south. They have that problem of the weapon isn't installed yet, and they need to wait before they gas everyone. Although, would the gassing work on the Marines, considering they're wearing almost entirely enclosed suits? We don't know. But regardless, Damar and their crew break in and take over the ship temporarily. I like the way they used the female changeling as the example. I thought that worked quite well. I also really liked the nod from the Cardassian in the gate when he saw Damar and just said, "Good luck, Damar," and it is that thing of, you do get this feeling of a building resistance. Now, when they're on the runabout, there's that bit where they find out Damar's family's been killed, and that was kind of a shock. Again, they have been willing to take it to dark places, and Kira had her maybe too soon moment, but I did like how that paid off at the end, with Cardassia can't be that way anymore, and maybe Damar's, again, learning a bit more. Now, the only thing I'd want to say about this is it's incredibly tightly packed. There's so much going on in both these episodes. And I'd have really loved to have seen particularly that little Klingon arc to breathe over 3-4 episodes. Again, if we'd have maybe missed out on the Ezri's family one and at least one of the misplaced comedy episodes, that Mirror Universe one. If we could have done without those ones, we could have actually stretched out that Klingon arc, and that could have been a thing going on. At least the political building, even if the last 2 episodes with the kind of everyone dying, the suicide missions was was just in those last 2. I think we could have extended that out, and that's maybe where we're looking at this as if you were to remake this series without the studio interference. This is maybe where you go. But other than that, I mean, you just can't fault this stuff. There's drama and excitement everywhere, and what more can we ask for from Deep Space Nine, particularly running up? I mean, this is probably about the most tense end of a series any Trek has ever had. And in fact, Discovery, the gauntlet's thrown basically for that. But that's just been brilliant stuff. So all that remains for me to say is do keep up the good work. I always look forward to the podcast, and I look forward to feeding back next episode. Until then, bye for now.
Bye, Sue. Thank you.
Yeah, that Klingon arc could have been longer, either with dropping Ezri's family, or even in the arc dropping the unnecessarily long Worf Ezri stuff to have more Klingon-y stuff. There's definitely stuff that could have given way.
Yeah, it's a shame they didn't space it out more, but what it does mean is that it's a real adrenaline rush for the last few episodes. That's one of the few things I do remember from the first time I watched it. It was like, the first half of the season was a bit meh. But the second half is like, wow, this is good, carry on.
Yeah. And it all ends too soon.
Yes.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Next time, on the Friday the 16th of November, we shall be covering the final 2 ordinary length episodes of Deep Space Nine, Extreme Measures and The Dogs of War.
Cry havoc! And let's slip the Dogs of War!
That's what we're covering next time, folks. We shall see you then. Take care. Cheery bye. The music at the beginning of this podcast was produced by the 86th Floor on YouTube and is used with their kind permission. All music referenced is for illustrative purposes only, and no copyright infringement is intended.
Find our website at bOrgCast.libsyn.com.
And we have a YouTube channel as well.
You can find the bOrgCast playouts on Spotify for your listening pleasure.
Visit our Tumblr site at bOrgCast.tumblr.com, where you'll find images accompanying the episodes discussed in this cast.
Send emails or MP3s to bOrgCast@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us via Twitter on rev_org or bOrgCastAmmo. #bOrgCast.
They're blind.
Shut it down! Oh, bollocks!